Most firms survive, the best ones scale. Welcome to the Managing Partners Podcast, where law firm leaders learn to think bigger. I'm Kevin Daisy. Let's jump in.
What's going on, my people? Welcome to another episode of the Managing Partners Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in to this podcast. Always try to make it helpful and bring on great guests that can share awesome things that hopefully you can apply in your law firm business, get that little bit of edge. So always happy to have guests on the show. I appreciate William Vasquez coming on the show today. Welcome, sir.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure definitely to be here and talk about all these things that are interesting and for us that are actually practicing law and how kind of tech, comes in nowadays, so excited to be here.
Yep, a lot of change going on. AI is a hot topic all the time, and just things are changing. The habits of folks, online and marketing and everything is just changing pretty rapidly. So, plenty of topics to cover on the show for sure. And yeah, William, I guess we're going to talk today a little bit about what he's done with marketing within his own firm, some AI things that he's doing, and how he's implementing those things. So we'll share about that today. But first, like my guests to kind of tell us a little bit more about their background, how they got started and become an attorney and running their own firm, and that way people know where you are and located as well. This is a great place, hopefully, for referral partners to come together. And so as people are listening, they want to connect. We want to make sure they can do that too. So William, just tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I mean, a former military member, Air Force, did 7 years in the Air Force, decided that I wanted to be, something with computers and did.
By the way,
Thank you. It was a pleasure. But ended up with a bachelor's of computer science, then did 4 years of law school after that, and worked as a software developer the 4 years I was going to law school, and then ended up wanting to be a lawyer. Totally different, two different career fields. I didn't, it's funny because I was used to the logic in the software, and then I show up to law school and it's a Socratic method. So I'm the first person that's called not prepared, didn't know anything about law school. And I remember those were the longest 5 minutes of my life, trying to figure out what the heck does this teacher or instructor want me to say, because I couldn't figure it out. But, that's how I ended up, I started law and I've been practicing since 2011. So we're going on to 15 years next year. Enjoying it, loved it. And then AI happened, and it's changing everything that we do. And I had to go back to my roots of software development and really, figure it out, with all the changing parts today.
yeah. So your firm, please share your firm name, but also you're located what, North Carolina? You have a few offices,
Correct.
Florida as well. Is there other states?
So we know we have 3 offices in North Carolina: Charlotte, Raleigh, and Smithfield, and we also have an office in Orlando, Florida. And we do a lot of work. We do a lot of work all across the United States. We primarily work immigration, and in North Carolina we do personal injury, workers' comp, and family and criminal defense. So, but in Florida and all over the United States we do immigration defense.
Okay, great. So for anyone listening that's need someone to refer that kind of work to, William would be a great person to do that. So, yeah. So, tell us, and you've recently moved to Puerto Rico, so a lot of cool things happening. But yeah, tell us kind of like what that's been like. AI's come out. You've obviously leaned into it and embraced it. So tell us a little bit more about what you're doing with that and within your firm specifically.
So in the AI realm, like most lawyers, we have a lot of issues. We go to law school to be a lawyer, but necessarily if you want to open your own business, we have no idea as to how to run a business and all the little things that go into, the intake process, the receptionist, what are they supposed to do in the intake, and then how do you get somebody to hire you, and the marketing aspect and the HR and all these wonderful things, that go into, actually having a successful business. And there's actually, a lot of you obviously, you almost, to run a law firm, you need 2 degrees. You need to you need to know business to be able to run it and stuff like that. So like most of the lawyers, we run into issues. We could be the greatest lawyers in the world, but our business, something's happening, and if we grow too fast, do I have the infrastructure to be able to grow? Is it gonna dilute the quality of our product? So we have to gauge all these different things, and we have to think forward, instead of just saying, yeah, I think that's the right decision, I think we're gonna make it, and then we get down the road and we get into hot water, So that's really what led me into AI. I just got tired of, so AI, in a sense, one of the first projects that we worked on was, a voice agent, so that when the person calls our office, they get the same experience in and out, every single time, versus having 10 receptionists or 10 intake people, and each of them having a different, a client having a different interaction. So that was like one of the first things we worked on.
That's a
And
good
then
way to
from
look at
there,
it.
it just, yeah, it's just, it's to create, because if we're thinking about our businesses, it's a brand. My name is a brand in itself. It has a reputation. You don't go to the Apple store, and it doesn't matter if you go to the Apple store in San Francisco or you go in New York or you go in Paris. Your interaction with them is going to be very similar to, so we wanted to make sure that our clients and our customers, really had that same experience consistently, and where we could control it and have one problem, one problem area. So if I have to fix it, I fix my voice agent, and I look at it, and I deal with the issue, and I train it, and so that's really how we started dabbling. And then obviously with my computer science degree and having been in the development field, it was easy. I understand the development, and I also understand the business itself because I've been doing it, for the last 15 years.
Well,
So that's
very
really.
unique, very unique about you, I guess, right? Most lawyers listening didn't go to software development school, so
And it's served me well since day one. We set up our own networks, we set up our own stuff in office, VPNs and stuff like that. So it's actually served me very well.
yeah. I mean, that's kind of how we started. We used to be a software development company that we went, you know, into marketing and digital marketing and stuff like that. But software is kind of where we started. So it's good to have that background and thought process when you're building out systems and things within the company and looking at software or technology to assist the business. So that's a great
Well,
background to have.
yeah. So, one of the biggest issues that we have, you got XYZ vendor, and you look at your processes, and you say, you know what, I need this system to do this, and I need somebody to build it. Well, you go send it to a developer, and the developer is going to think about it from a developer standpoint. They're going to see code, they're going to see, oh, cool, like I want to work on this, I want to solve this problem, but they don't understand the business side of it. So whoever's going to be involved, and you're going to bring these two, together, my business and this tech that I need to be able to solve my problem. They need to be married together, because at the end of the day, if those two are not, you're going to have a product that's not going to work 100% for you. It doesn't understand your business. It can't really solve your problem. It might solve one or two or three, but it's going to leave four, five, six out of it. And you're constantly going to be in this cycle.
Mm.
So the person that's going to do development for you better understand what you're doing, and better understand really what it is, the ins and out of it.
So with AI, you're kind of making you're running that part, right? So you're able to control that part this is what we need.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I could bridge the gap, and that's why we ended up, establishing, an AI company that really deals with attorney in the situations that we deal on a day in day out basis. You talk to any lawyer, and they'll tell you the headaches. Some lawyers don't even want a business just because of the headaches. They don't want to deal with that. They say, I don't have time for that. I don't have time to deal with all this nonsense. And then also we have a license. So we need to make sure that at the end of the day that what we're doing and what we're saying, aligns with, our ethical rules and all that. So there's a lot at stake,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
all of this.
Yeah. And what you were just saying there is all those things, all the headaches, all the stuff that you have to learn. It's a lot of work, and it's hard for most to understand. It takes a lot of time and energy, and but to have a good, successful business, you have to put attention to those things, right? So it's
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah. So how do you do it all? And yeah, AI can help in many areas, in
A-
many ways.
a- Absolutely. I think AI has sped up, um, has sped everything up substantially. What you could have, what you would have taken you 2 to 3 years to create, you could do, in 5 to 6 months or even less, depending on how good your team is and what team you have. You could do things. It's really taken a lot of that tedious line by line coding, and now you're able to put things together. You just got to have the idea, the creative, and really understand, security and all these different things. And once you understand those things, those elemental things, you could put a lot of things together, and you could do a lot of great things much, much, much faster at a very reduced price. Because software development is very expensive, or has been very expensive. So
Yeah.
even seeing a lot of developers even losing their jobs right now because manpower, especially in that area, has been hit hard.
Yeah. Well, we saw the writing on the wall many years ago when we used to do custom apps, like phone applications and custom software, and we've always done digital marketing and websites, but we used to I wanted to go more into software. Realized years ago that that's a hard to find a client that needs that, and then number two, we kind of saw what was coming, so um, you know, so we kind of got out of that ourselves, which is a good a good idea. But a lot of things you're saying too, like the consumer today, right, is used to some of these bigger tech companies like Uber, or Tesla, or even like a Domino's, where I can go on an app, I can order my pizza, and I know exactly what's happening all the way till it shows up to my door. And then you have law firms that are ancient, that don't even want to. You have to come into their office, and all the staff's in the office, and um, just there's positives to some of those things, but not taking time to look at how do you improve the experience that the person that has a need, right? They're in a troublesome spot. How do we service them and make sure that they're taken care of quickly? So
So Kevin, you really hit the nail in the head. Some months back, Y Combinator had an article out there. And they were basically talking about law firms being one of the first businesses that were AI in initial stages, was gonna really change. A lot of, so they put, they put it out there, and they put, we grants, because Y Combinators does, gives for startups, and they've been part of many successful companies in the past. So they put it this way. When the whole thing about agents and all this stuff was coming out, they were basically to the development world. They said, why are we building agents to read emails and answer emails, or summarize this or summarize that? Basically, they said, instead of creating an agent, why don't you just create the whole set of agents that runs a law firm? you know so, and basically they said, and if you do this and you do this successfully, they basically called the attorneys that would not move along with the technology and what's going on, they basically called them dinosaurs.
mm,
Because that's the reality of it. it's technology is changing so fast, and every day we wake up and it's this race between Google and Grok and OpenAI and Sora 2 and this and that and this
And
video
Atlas
and,
just
and
came out.
everything is at yeah, Atlas just came out. So you have a new search engine, and Google has because now it has to keep up with the LLM and the searches and the LLM. Like we as business owners, as law firms, we need to understand that even the game of marketing has changed. If I don't have an LLM.txt on my website and the LLMs are not reading what I'm putting out there, then I'm gonna, somebody else is gonna, because they're not even they're the market is shifting to looking at the LLM as the search engine, as the search, as the answer to all their questions. They're not going to Google as much as they used to. Now they're going to OpenAI, to Grok, whatever their preference is, Claude, whatever they love. And we need to understand that that market is switching, and is switching fast, and we have to adapt if we want to keep up with the marketing, and we want to still be able to show up on the top. Because if we look now, it's not even do I have an LSA ad, it's not even do I have a pay-per-click ad, it's the answer from the LLM, that's at the top, giving the person almost an answer to even what we do. Like, how do I defend myself? And well, you do this and that. I'm not a lawyer, but I would recommend you contact Joe and associates, and
Yep.
and that's really what's going on.
It's amazing. I checked out Atlas. I just downloaded it, I think 2 days ago. But I did best personal injury attorney in near me, and so I'm in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And it didn't give me a list; it gave me one, and then it told me 10 reasons why that's the one. Like, that's pretty compelling. Like, would I call anyone else? Probably. I mean, probably not. Now, you can click over to the search tab, and then it gives you a list, which is kind of like looks like a Google search result. And then also in Atlas, you can click to load Google results, which loads ads and all that stuff in there. But it's very secondary. It's like they're kind of like giving you the option for it, but the home gives you one answer and tons of evidence of why you should pick that firm. And it's a firm that I know. They're not a client of mine, but a firm that I know very personally. That was the answer. And so if someone's turning to chat as like their source of truth, that's pretty compelling. Like, they're going to probably call that firm and no one else. So,
Well, this is the issue that we're seeing, and I'm gonna be 100% blatantly honest here in my assessment. Um, a lot of people are creating relationships, with AI. What I mean by that is, you go to GPT and you go to their marketplace, your OpenAI, and you go to their GPT workplace, and they have counselors, and they have fitness coaches, and they have all these, and people actually have it's a real, like they're actually trusting
yeah.
what the LLM is telling, and modeling their life based on what the LLM is telling them. And the reality of the fact is this, Kevin. Um, I don't see anybody turning back. What am I trying to say by this? If if I if a firm is utilizing AI for automating a lot of their things, be it marketing or internal stuff, and I don't see them turning around and saying, "Oh no, you know what? Scratch all the AI stuff. Like, bring in all the people." I don't see that happening, because the way I look at AI right now, and it's sad to say, but we're getting to a point where we're going to be handicapped by it. What do I mean? What do I mean? Um, I don't want to do the things that I used to do before, because I have my AI that could do, 90% of the work, and I just do 10%. Why would I go back to do 100%? Why would I do that?
Yeah.
Like, and in that, once we stop, it's kind of like working out. If I stop going to the gym You know, it's very hard for me. You know, it's you
It's hard to go back.
we're becoming so we're becoming so dependent. We're becoming so dependent on it that we're for example, this generation still knows how to do many things. They could do it by hand, they could do it manually, they could do it, you know, they could do it like that. But future generations, you remove that out of the equation and they won't know how to change a tire by themselves. Like, who do I ask? What do I do? It's like perfect example, GPS. GPS. Let's talk about GPS. Who goes anywhere without GPS? You're out, you have no signal, you have nothing. We're as lost as, you know, but before we knew, okay, this is ABC Street and the other streets are 1, 2, 3. I could get to, you know,
You have to pull your map out.
you know, or you know, you put your atlas out and you would figure it out. So it's sad to say, but and
Yeah.
we you know, we're gonna be losing skills in the process while we are even adopting the new technology.
Well, the thing is right now with the AI, or like ChatGPT, you've done the work. I've done the work. So we have a lot of those things to input because and model after, right? We could do it ourselves if we wanted to, but would you sit there and draft a long form LinkedIn article word by word
No,
at this point? No.
no.
Yeah. So again, but you've done all the work. You can input all this stuff you've already done. But fast forward 20 years from now, when you don't have the work that you've done because you've had AI the whole time, right? That's a good point.
Yeah. And so, but it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. What I'm trying to say is that, as you know, big law is definitely adopting, you know, a lot of things, you know, and they're the first ones. They're the ones that have access to Harvey AI and all these major, you know, AI initiatives. You know, us small mid-sized firms are kind of like in the outskirts. So it's gonna take the individual, the business owner, to know, look, the landscape, the battlefield is changing, you know. And the reality of the facts is that most attorneys are sharks. Like, they're not in this to lose. They don't want to lose in court. They don't want to lose to their competitors. They don't want to lose, you know. So you need to be able to adapt and really know what is it that I need, what's going to give me, you know, what's going to keep me giving me that competitive edge, because what we did yesterday is just not going to work.
Yeah. I mean, you know, and for me as a owner in a company and a culture that, you know, has been the backbone of our business, you know, we plan on continuing to have, you know, to employ people and have great people, but at the same time, not all positions are going to be safe out there. So it's, you know, having great
No.
people, implementers, people to learn, people that do certain things. But if you're not adopting and adapting and learning some of these tools, or you're just like, we're going to stay away from AI completely, you're going to have issues. People will go to other firms and find it at a better rate, faster service, better service.
Correct.
You're going to have to do it. You're just going to, there's no way around it. I think there's just a balance there to play. So
There definitely is, and what where it's shifting for us, you know, with AI, what used to take us 6, 9 months, you know, because you would go hire an attorney and you say, well, you know what, it's something simple. I just need a separation agreement. It would take 4, 6, 8 weeks, you know, and that client is calling like, where is my separation agreement? Well, I'm still working out details, like, you know, and stuff like that. And it's going through this archaic process. Well, now you should be able to turn that around rather quickly, you know. The problem has been also that in that sense, some people have become super lazy. Do not rely on what AI spits out. Double check, especially for attorneys, because you could, you know, and you've seen attorneys that have really gotten into boiling water, hot water, just because, oh, AI give me this, so it must be great. Here I go. Let me file it in, you know. It doesn't quite work like that, you know.
it doesn't replace the
So,
attorney,
but
right? But it does
it does not.
a lot of things for you that used to take you tons of hours and time that is now not necessary. Yeah.
So there's a shifting. There's a shifting in the employees that we need, the type of skill sets that they're going to need. It's not going to replace human being. It's not going to replace the lawyer. It's not going to replace, the paralegal. It's not going to replace the legal assistants or the receptionist per se. But somebody has to be monitoring what the system is doing and making sure that what it's going out is, up to par with what the bar requires of each of us as practitioners.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like you were saying in the beginning, like if you went to hire a software developer, and trying to communicate the business aspects of things and why it's important, well, you need those people that are telling AI what we need. Here's how we need it done. Here's what to do. That fits the business needs. Those people are going to be
Absolutely.
very desirable. I was talking to someone today, actually. They do like fractional type work, so fractional CMO, fractional CFO, and they're creating a program for fractional chief AI officer. So someone to bring in as a fractional AI implementer, if you will. So it's I can see that. I can see that being pretty popular, actually. So
In that vein, so I had to kind of think about business, and what's going on and what are the headaches that I've had in the last 15 years. I've been very successful. We've grown, I have a mid-sized firm, we are at a run rate to hit, 8 figures. So I'm successful in a sense, that
congrats.
I'm happy where I'm at. Thank you. I'm happy where I'm at, and but I've also known that in the process of growing, things break, and you can't run a law firm, the same way when you're at 1 million and expect to run the firm the same way when you're at 5 million or 10 million or 15 or 20 million. It's totally different beast, but in that vein, so we established our company, and why Puerto Rico? Um, there's Act 60 in Puerto Rico. So let me explain why Puerto Rico.
Okay.
Act
Yeah.
60 basically says that if you have a business in Puerto Rico and you export services, to the States, or outside, that your tax bracket for your business is 2 to 4%. Can't beat that anywhere else, So 2 to 4% versus the the
I'm
average
hopping
how
on
our
a plane
businesses are
right now.
taxed.
I'm see you there.
So that's why Puerto Rico it wasn't just a random like, oh, let's just go, no. Um but as you grow, you got to learn how to, how do you deal, with these situations, because a tax bill could take your business down. Could definitely take your business down. So that being said, we had to sit down and had to think about this. So we created the company in Puerto Rico, and basically it's meant to export AI services to the legal field,
Nice.
the marketing side of it, the voice and the video agents, that could, deal with the client glide path and what is a client experience and stuff like that. But you were talking about the AI officer and stuff like that. So we're building a platform that also deals with the augmenting your C-suite. So your CEO is going to have information that's fed through the AI when that CEO signs in, like I as a CEO would sign in, I have information that's important to me. You have a CFO, artificial, and you have a CMO, you have a CAIO for AI, you have information, you have a security, and you have all these different elements all communicating and orchestrating together and learning from your business, so all these
Pretty
different
awesome.
aspects of it really came together, and also the website element, because our websites have changed, and so we have websites that are 100% augmented by, it's drafting blogs for me, it's looking at feeds, it's looking at RSS, it's looking at, everything that's going viral is creating, it's looking at how it's ranking, it's creating blog posts that are SEO keyword,
That's awesome.
so it's just a lot of things going on out here, and we have all this whole suite, that's kind of enclosed in our company, and that's essentially what we're doing. It's not it's not that it's law firm specific, because it's business logic.
Sure.
So we're not going at it from a, you know, Harvey AI, like, oh, I'm gonna, you know, give you all the case law and stuff like that and help you kind of research, you know, stuff like that. We're going at it from the other pain point, you know.
The business side.
What are we suffering from? What's the one thing that's holding me back from being able to scale my business? If I don't have a C-suite, you know, that I'm able to afford $250,000 for a COO, you know, CMO, and all these different things that I need, you know, but what do I have? So it's not meant to replace anybody, but it's meant to have all that information there and everything kind of working cohesively together and presenting that information to you. So that's really what we're doing.
That's
and
awesome.
and we are super excited about, you know, how much progress we've made, and we are launching our marketing platform. We've launched this today. It's in beta, testing in my firm, so it's running on my firm. Our website is already launched. It's, you know, we took all my websites and really redid them and
Nice.
deployed them. Our voice agents, you know, are out there, and then the last bit of it, that's early January release, is gonna be the C-suite element of it, you know.
What's the name
And we are
of that
actually,
company?
so it's Odos, HODOS, and you know, it's Odos 360 um AI, you know, so LLC in Puerto Rico, but the platform itself is named Odos, and that's really stands for Greek. It's the Greek word for the way, you know,
Oh,
so that's
that's
why.
awesome.
So
Love it.
it's yeah, it's you know, so we're really excited, you know, and it's been fun because I didn't know how my software development was gonna kind of mix with law, and I didn't have this, you know, this idea, but I see it all come together, and I'm having fun. I'm having fun in creating solutions for my firm that actually work, you know.
Yeah, the
So,
thing
and
is,
I'm involved in
you're using it within your own firm, which is a great testament and case study for that product, right? So,
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. You remember that old commercial? Was it Hair Club for Men?
yeah. I'm
You
not
remember?
only
I'm not. I'm not
yeah,
only I'm not only the
listen,
president. I'm also a client, kind of thing, you know. So now the going at it from that route, you know.
yeah, I love that. There was I was just I was at Max Law Con, which is in Nashville, about a month ago, and one of the speakers that got up there was a lawyer. He had built his own board of advisors through AI, and so and he did it based on like Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs on his
Yeah.
board, you know. You have Jeff Bezos sits on your board. All these people, and then he can consult them because he doesn't have any. He's got a small firm. So what you're talking about is a more packaged version of that. He did it all himself by trial and error. But and of course he spoke about it and said, "Hey, here's how you could do it yourself." But what you're talking about is providing that structure, more or less.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and
awesome.
we're also training LLM to really kind of learn from, you know, from the system. So it's constantly, you know, learning and getting better and stuff like that as it iterates through, you know, every different interaction. So
That's
it's
huge.
it's really cool. It's really fun, and you know, I can tell you, like, today I had a meeting with my development team, and they were um showcasing, you know, basically, 'cause we were launching our marketing app, and we had our marketing people come in, you know, and kind of look at it, and they were just blown away by, you know, how easier their job is going to be, you know, by the capabilities and what it does, and how easy, you know, the information's here, now what it needs here, and if I need to repurpose something, or if the AI tells me, look, your creative is kind of screwed up on this one, you know, just basically, you know, remix it for me and make it, you know, in something that, you know, is, you know. So we are super excited right now.
That's awesome, man. That's good stuff. And congrats on everything that you're doing and kind of the evolution, I guess, if you will, which is good. We got to constantly be changing and being agile and keeping up to date with what's going on. And so, and me in the marketing space for sure, 100%. It's constant, you know.
It is algorithms change, you know, a lot of things change, and AI is just another additional layer. But like I've been saying, you just have to stay abreast. You don't have to be, you don't need a computer science degree. You don't need to be a data scientist, but you need to be able to stay abreast at least of what's going on and how can this help my firm, or how can this help my business, and really where we are going. Basically, our job is to the creative, you know what do I see, what have I, where, when you approach a client now, what are your pain points, what is it we need to fix, and then deal with that, and there's so much that is going to advance so much faster with the help of AI. It's a tool, and it makes it. I heard somebody say that with AI, what used to be impossible, it's hard now, and what used to be hard is easy now. And that's that was really profound, because there's some truth to that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think for everyone listening, folks that run their own law firm, just fall in, kind of what William's done. You fall in love with the business and change. And when you see something new coming around, don't be like, ugh, and get discouraged. Like William here is like, all right, how can I use that? How can we improve our business for my team, for our people, and for our clients? And you're just going to have to embrace it, or you're actually doing your clients a disservice. You're going to do your team a disservice. So you have to
Absolutely.
stay up with the times, or you're going to be a dinosaur, right?
That's according to Y Combinator. So I didn't say it. Look it up. There's an article there from, I think it was April or something like that, from Y Combinator.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt
So,
that. So, but yeah, I love what you're doing, man, and all the cool things that you're doing, and just you're on your own adventure, right? Puerto Rico, new companies, new goals. So I love it. I appreciate you sharing today.
absolutely. No, thank you. It was a pleasure being here, and really talking about this. Is important. This is important for a lot of our law firms. This is, if you could assimilate it to any time period, this is very similar to the dot-com boom. And you're gonna have a lot of people, a lot of changes. Once the dot-com boom was done, our world changed. Our world changed, and how we did everything, and how, and
100%.
this is gonna absolutely change everything. This is very similar to that. This is the next major evolution of the technology that we've been investing on all these years. And it's only the tip of the iceberg. We're only at the tip.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, William, for joining me on the show and sharing what you're up to and how you're leveraging AI and just some of your thoughts on it. So definitely appreciate that. I know everyone that tunes in is wrapping their head around it, and a lot of folks I know are they're leveraging it, and they're using it, and at different levels. Some are tiptoeing, some are going all in. So, but appreciate you sharing. Everyone, please connect with William. What's the best way to connect with you and reach out?
You just go on social media, or you could go to my website, hodos360.ai.
All right.
Check it out. And let me know your thoughts too. Feedback is always good, and we're constantly, updating stuff and doing things and stuff like that. But check it out, and it's a journey. It's a journey, and we're all gonna, we're all part of this journey, and everything is changing around us, and we're a part of it. So.
Amen. Oh, I appreciate it, and thanks for sharing today, everyone. Thank you again for listening to the show, and always trying to bring new topics, new guests. If you feel like you'd be good for the show, reach out and hit me up. If you want an introduction to William directly, again, hit me up. Happy to do that by email, and make sure you get connected. So everyone have a great day. Thank you so much. William, you stay on with me. Thanks so much.
Thank you.